Have you ever opened your fridge and noticed a stinky mystery odor? Or maybe you spilled something in there and it got all sticky? Well, let me show you the best way to deep clean your fridge so it stays fresh, clean, and odor-free. The first place to start is to empty all the food from your refrigerator. Now, I do like to mention, it's a good idea to kind of schedule or plan out your deep clean before you go grocery shopping. That way your refrigerator is mostly empty and you don't have to deal with a bunch of food. Another thing I like to do is I'll check the expiration dates on the food while I'm removing it. That way if I find something that's gone bad or old, I'll just throw that away instead of putting it back in my clean fridge. Now, another really good idea and something I highly recommend is that you store the food in a cooler once you remove it. This job does take a little while, and I just hate to see something spoiled or go rotten while you're cleaning it. So now that the fridge is nice and empty, it's time to start the cleaning process. Now, I like to grab all of the shelves and drawers and remove them from the refrigerator. However, before I do that, a quick pro tip is just to grab your phone and snap a picture of the layout. Now, the reason this is so helpful is once we go back to put everything in the fridge, once it's nice and clean, honestly, it's kind of like a giant puzzle sometimes, and it's a little frustrating. So having that picture to reference is super helpful. Now, another thing too is obviously I like to put all my food back in those same places, and if your shelves aren't quite aligned right, that won't fit and then you can't find anything. Now, anytime we remove glass from the refrigerator, it's very important to let it warm up and come up to room temperature before we clean it. If you introduce super cold glass to warm water, which we're going to use to clean, what can happen is you run the risk of it shattering, and we definitely don't want that. Next, I like to go and fill up my bathtub with some warm water, 2 or 3 teaspoons of dish soap, and about 2 cups of white vinegar. Then we're gonna grab everything we took out of the fridge and put it in the tub so we can let it soak for a minimum of 20 to 30 minutes. Now, if yours is really bad, I might even suggest letting it soak longer so the vinegar and dish soap will have more time to work to really break down the grease and grime that is on the surface. Now, I will say, anytime I talk about using my bathtub to let things soak, I kind of get two conflicting comments, whether some people love it, it's a great idea, other people hate it and think it's super gross. Now, first, my bathtub is always clean before I do this. And second, I just feel like it's a really good spot because, well, things can get a little wild when you're cleaning and scrubbing. And if something gets wet in the tub, it doesn't matter. But on my kitchen counter, well, it can make a bigger mess. Now, another thing you can use as well if you want is just a big tub, fill that up with water and let them soak in there too. Now, if your refrigerator, kind of like this one, has so many pieces that you can't soak them all at one time in your tub, what I like to suggest is first soak all the plastic pieces because those don't really have to warm up. So you can put them right in the tub and let them start soaking. And then once those are done and nice and clean, then I'll soak all the glass because by then it's warmed up and ready to go. So while we wait for everything to soak in the tub, it's time to clean the inside of the fridge. Now, for cleaner, I like to use this one here, my DIY vinegar mix. I just feel like this does a really good job and it's super simple to make. All you need is about a cup of water, a cup of vinegar, and about a teaspoon of Dawn dish soap. The vinegar is gonna help neutralize any funky odors in the fridge, along with just having some great cleaning power. Now, I know some hate the smell of vinegar, and I totally get it. It's kind of funny. I've been using it for so long now, I don't really smell it. But if you don't like vinegar, you can also just use a basic all-purpose cleaner. That will get the job done as well. Now, to use this, I just like to spray down the entire inside of the fridge. And if it's really dirty, I'll let it sit for a little bit. Now, sometimes you'll run across some kind of sticky, crusty food. For that, I like to use a non-scratch scrub sponge, like a Scrub Mommy. Then once everything's nice and scrubbed up, I'll come through with a 3-towel system. One to wipe down and just remove that vinegar, a second one to come through and rinse, and then the third dry clean microfiber towel to dry and buff the surface, making sure we leave no streaks behind. And I like to focus where the shelves are resting because spills many times find their way into various nooks and crannies and even the corners. Really, that's why I take everything out and remove it, because sometimes trying to save time and just clean it with everything inside makes it a harder job, so just take it all out. I also like to suggest that you work in sections. I just find it's easier for me to kind of focus on one area then move to the next. So usually I'll start on the left and work my way to the right, and this ensures that nothing gets missed. Now, I do suggest doing a deep clean like this on your refrigerator at least once or twice a year if you can. Usually I'll do the first one in spring, kind of for spring cleaning, and then the second in the fall. But definitely stick around. I have a few other tips I like to share so you can keep your fridge cleaner longer. An area where food and crumbs kind of like to hide here is this seal here along the door. So while I'm cleaning the inside, I'll just give my towel a quick spray. Make sure to give these a quick clean as well, so there's nothing left behind. Now at this point in the clean, you might still have some extra time while things are soaking in the bathtub. Now, what I like to use this time for is just cleaning the outside of the refrigerator as well. Now, if you have a black or white painted fridge, the DIY vinegar mix does an awesome job. However, if you have a stainless steel one like this one here, those are a little more tricky, and I just like to be a little more gentle. Vinegar really doesn't play well with stainless steel in my experience. So I have a full video detailing exactly the best way you can clean your stainless steel in your kitchen. I'll link that down in the description. Check it out after this video. So now that everything has been soaking here for a bit, all the grime that was on the surface should be nice and loosened up, and it's time for, well, if you ask me, the fun part, and that is the scrubbing. Now, this is a big job. There's a lot of pieces here, but stick with this. The nice thing about letting it soak is that just the scrubbing is that much easier, and you really don't have to put too much elbow grease into it. Now, you might find something here and there that just needs a little extra cleaning power, and for that, I'll just grab my DIY vinegar mix, spray it down real quick, and give it a scrub, and that should take care of anything that's remaining on the surface. Once everything is nice and scrubbed up and I feel like it's looking good, I will give it a quick rinse under some water. Then the most important step is to get everything nice and dry before we put it back in the fridge. Now I will say, if you have a cleaning partner in the house, I highly suggest recruiting them for this job, just because 2 people help speed up this process and you can get it done in no time. Now there are a few things I like to recommend to keep your refrigerator clean longer. Now the first is just wipe up spills immediately as soon as they happen. That way they don't get sticky and make a bigger mess. The second is to make sure about weekly to check all the expiration dates on your food. Get rid of anything that might be spoiled or old, because if you leave them in there, they will start to cause stinky odors. Now, another thing I like to do just on a weekly basis is just give my refrigerator a quick wipe down before I go grocery shopping. That way I keep up with the clean and I can maintain it so I don't have to deep clean it as often. And the last thing is pretty common, you might do this already, but that is to keep some baking soda in your fridge. Baking soda does a great job to absorb odor, locking it in so those funky, stinky smells don't linger. Now you might be wondering, Brandon, how do you clean the freezer? Well, I use the exact same process as I use for the refrigerator. However, I don't recommend doing them both at the same time unless they're completely empty, like it's a move out clean or something. The reason being is I usually don't have enough space to keep the food cold. Now, the nice thing about doing the freezer second is there's not a lot of parts, so it's usually quick and easy. And there you have it. Now you know the best way to get your refrigerator nice and clean. Thanks so much for watching as always, and if you're new here, consider subscribing. If you have any questions about today's clean, definitely drop a comment down below. I'm always happy to help. I also need to give a huge shout out to the Clean Squad members over on Patreon. Thank you so much for your continued support. If you want to join us over there and get access to things like downloadable PDF cleaning guides or your name credited down in the video below, definitely check the link in the description. And as always, I'll see you on the next clean.